Blog Talk Radio.
What? Face to face, African warriors. You want my people dying up in Africa? Is it true that no one really cares for us? Freedom fighters, this government ain't getting no lighter. I'm right beside you. In case you're getting ready to strike, it's the police of the military. Just burning on my beefs in the cemetery.
Peace. Assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and sisters out there who are listening in, who are tuning in. We thank you for tuning in. This is the Sword of Resurrection show, and all those who come on the show bring their sword. You know, a sword of resurrection. It's not a physical sword. Of course, we know it's a spiritual sword because you cannot raise the dead with steel. You have to raise it with the truth. All right, now, brothers and sisters, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the one true and living God who comes in many names, the sender of all the prophets and the messengers, who stood at the highest form of servitude to the people of God. I greet you once again in the greetings of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. I'm very excited today. This is going to be a powerful show. But first, there's a few announcements we got to get off. Our disclaimer, of course, you know the show's host, its participants represent themselves as individuals and not any particular organization or business. This show and all of our broadcasts are protected by the Son of Man. Please also, if you'd like to hear today's show, write this down. Well, you know, the Sword of Resurrection. You know, everybody should write down the link, you know, and send it to your friends and family via Facebook, you know, so people can get involved with our show. Also, we would like you to make a donation to help us pay for the show because every month we have to pay a bill, all right? Your donation will also help us to improve our technical advantages and improve our equipment that we need to produce music, to promote the show, to do all the things that we do at God's Water Entertainment. Also, if you'd like to make a donation, go to wepay.com/GodsWater and the number 1. So that's wepay.com/GODSWATER, the number 1. Or go to our GodsWater7.com website and make a donation at the PayPal button. All you got to do is scroll down once you get to the page, and then you'll be able to make a donation with your credit card using PayPal. That's GODSWATER, the number 7.com. Also, next week, for all of those brothers and sisters out there who have been abused by police, our next week's show is going to be extremely powerful. Brothers and sisters, the name of the show is The Death of Police Brutality 2012. I repeat, The Death of Police Brutality 2012. My featured guests will be Forrest Muhammad and Miss Queen of Organized Music. Again, that will be Tuesday the 19th at 8 p.m. We are asking former police officers and all those in the authority of the government, governmental agencies, if you want to call in, please call in, because we want you to tell the world your story from the inside, as well as those who've been abused. We want you to tell your story as well on that show. Again, that's Tuesday the 19th at 8 p.m. All right, Eastern time, by the way. Now, the name of the show is Highly Intelligent People with Hidden Original Powers. This is part 2 of the show that we started recently, and you can see part 1 on YouTube. We syndicate on YouTube. So after this show is done, all goes well, God willing, we will have this show actually on YouTube as well, so you can send that video around. In the show, we'll be discussing, the legendary Treacherous-Three, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and of course the recent battle between the legendary Cannabis and the newcomer Disaster, and more. The song you just heard was Hip Hop Generation by a group called Face to Face, and a brother named Frank Tarr, who's the founder of that group, you know, send that to me, and I had listened to it, and I thought it was a great way to start the show off. We are coming hip-hop generation, you know, and it's a positive reflection of hip-hop in Africa. And playing that song reminds me of a trip that I took to Africa in 2010 in December. As a member of the international hip-hop delegation to Fesmin in Dakar of Senegal, there I stood with other members of the New Future Foundation, other lovers of hip-hop from the motherland, and more, as we watched the people, our people, rock just like how we rock. I mean, they get it on out there. It's serious. The hip-hop movement in Africa is no joke, and I got to witness it firsthand. Now, I and the others, such as Tony B. Conscious, Jason Rosario, and, of course, Queen Mother Dolores Blakely, who is known as Mama Africa, who arranged that trip, had a great problem with the fact that we had just came to the motherland to find that DJs were saying the N-word and B-word on the mic. I mean, they didn't even understand English on the records. All they understood was the curse words. So they would say the curse words like continuously, and it just pissed us off. We got very upset, excuse the expression. I can recall talking to the multitudes over national television and countless interviews to express to them my disgust with the representation of Africa through hip-hop there. I didn't travel 9,000 miles to hear the N-word. You know, I just didn't. It was, you know, it was just a shame. You know, I came to the motherland to be as far away from the N-word and the B-word as a hawk would fly away from a forest fire. And believe me, if America doesn't turn around from her wickedness, that's exactly what this country will turn out to be. And that is engulfed in flames, as Allah has promised in the recorded scriptures. This is serious, brothers and sisters. For one of our delegates, who was a child of the Zulu tribe of South Africa, was actually murdered for speaking her mind before the world at the well, it didn't happen at the Hotel Meridian, but she spoke at the Hotel Meridian in Dakar. And she asked publicly, as it was broadcasted on satellite television, that her people embrace African culture and forward that and express that through hip-hop music and not try to appease the world around Africa by reflecting the cultures of people of European countries. Hip-hop was always about repping your hood, and Zandi was from South Africa, and she was right. Unfortunately, she paid with her life for saying that because the world, you know, just wasn't ready for it where she was coming from. You know, I don't want to get into the details of her murder, but the point, in fact, is she was found hanging in her hotel room several months after we left Africa. The last time I seen her, she gave me 5 pendants, and she told me to give these pendants to the delegates that were on our plane, and that's the last time I saw her. You know, her death was ruled a suicide, but evidence points against it. And I tell you, she was more overjoyed with the blessings that Allah had bestowed upon her there in Africa through what we were doing in the name of hip-hop. You know, so no one can tell me that she committed suicide. How many of our people will die before you, who are the answers to the prayers of the oppressed, the people of God of today, before you actually take ownership of hip-hop? You know, I mean, so many people have died in the name of trying to correct what is wrong with hip-hop culture. You have no idea of the stories that are out there of people who have literally lost their life trying to stop fights, stop disputes, you know, even arguments over who's the best rapper that have. And when we, as the children of slaves, when are we going to take responsibility for what happened to our sister Zandi, my friend, my newfound sister in Africa? Haven't been those who will help the cycle, you know, I mean, we've actually helped the cycle by using the B word and the N word in the hip hop music. And it hasn't not been for those negative influences, that would have never happened to her. Hip hop is for you an active representation of your hood, your way, but keeping it real within the culture. Our format, which is represented by B-boys and B-girls throughout the world, has 5 elements: rhyming, DJing, breaking, graffiti, and beatboxing. And there's other elements evolving. We got to talk about them MCs out there in a minute. We're going to be talking about, of course, the battle, but we went and we started talking about, the effect of the pain that we produce through the negative aspects of hip-hop music as it's presented today. And we were talking about how brothers are going around sidestepping, wearing dresses, earrings, long hair, and things of that nature in the front of the people with the microphones, and not being true to who they are, what they are, and misrepresenting that and causing confusion. Well, we know that Satan is the author of confusion, and we're going to do something about this by making it clear. We have to set the tone on the streets, from the streets on up, that if you're gay, say you're gay. If you're straight, say you're straight, but don't be on the mic and fake it in front of the children, so the children will be all confused coming up, not knowing what to do. This is a reality that we have to keep amongst ourselves if we're going to move forward positively. Identify yourself, basically. You understand? Don't be on the mic and say and perpetrate like you straight when you're not. Don't do that. This is not that time that we should be appreciating that kind of activity. We also talked about in our first show the origins of hip-hop, and we were talking about Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, the Furious 5, Grand Mixer DXT, KRS-One, Rakim, LL, Rocksteady Crew. These are some of the people that we talked about. We talked about the New York City Breakers, and we went into the history of hip-hop. I gave you a comparison stating that we needed to honor our ancestors, and we will never get the respect that we deserve if we do not honor our ancestors and our immediate ancestors within the hip-hop culture, and I'm talking about the legends who are alive. To make this comparison clear, blacks, whether you black or brown, we got to give our hip-hop pioneers the love that will fill an arena as would a rock fan for Aerosmith for Bon Jovi. If Bruce Springsteen was to rise from the dead, he would sell out crowds of millions, and I'm talking spiritually, such as, let's look at Treacherous-Three. If they was to rise back up, they would probably have to perform in a bar or something. But they should be able to sell out a whole entire crowd. Why is it that we can't offer that to our pioneers? This is real. We have to offer this type of support to our pioneers as would any other people. It's not comforting for me as a founder in hip-hop to actually see this happen to people. I remember walking up to one of the founders and asking them, if they could buy my CD, and he didn't even have $5. And I was shocked. Now, let's get into my ultimate, the Treacherous-Three. Now, these 3 were signed in the beginning to Bobby Robinson's Enjoy Records, who actually signed me and DJ MCs back in the days. And they got their big break in 1980, being featured on the B-side of Spoonie G's single Love Rap. And they influenced the rappers like T-La Rock, LL Cool J, and Rakim. And these brothers brought that hot style, that Harlem style to the game. It was hardcore, it was fast MCing, it was straight raw, and they were funny too. They brought that swag. They were real. They played no games, and trust me, their lyrics were on point. They were brought to the mainstream through the appearances in Wild Style, and who could forget that performance at the Roxy in the movie Beat Street? I could see Mo D, doing that Santa routine. That was real funny, and I can remember meeting Mo D at the Rooftop Ring in Harlem, and trust me, everybody who knows, he's as cool as his shades. When he came out with Go See the Doctor, Wild Wild West, tracks like that, Mo D, he put his foot in, and everybody understood this brother was here to stay, and most of us, we didn't like when the group disappeared. They returned for a reunion in '83. They made a remake of Heartbeat, but it was never really like the way it was, but we got to give them props, and for that, we're going to play a little track from the Treacherous-Three, and then we're going to get into the thick of this, so we can talk about that battle. That's real because I'm hoping that some of y'all stayed with me. We had some technical difficulties, so many of y'all might have knocked off. But in the meantime, I want y'all to just listen to this here, the Treacherous-Three.
We got something new, Well, if you rate it like you ate it, like a movie review. You see, we get 5 stars for each of us. So let us tell you the deal, because it is a must. Well, I'm the number one ace, face in the face, got the taste in the place, set, and I'm the number one dude, what the you been? I got more rhymes than mother school. Well, I'm the number one kid, here to say yes to say the winner play all the way until the break of day. Party people, number 4, back more on the floor. Party, tell the can more. And the man number 5, make the crowd come alive. Reggie Ray, on the mix, and it takes no job. But there's the man number 6, but the tables and the mix. So come on, party people, let it show you tricks. Rock the body, 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 rock the body.
This is live coming up.
DJ Lee, give us
now,
the music,
live.
is the place to be. Most definitely is the place to be. Treacherous-Three MCs. On the far right, if you didn't hear it before, my man LA Sunshine in the middle, Special K. And on the microphone at this time, they call me Cool Mo D. Ladies and gentlemen, they say it goes a little something like this. The sounds that you hear is going to be so real, but have no fear. Mo D is here, and along with me in the atmosphere, we're known to be the best crew of the year. And if you say we're wax, say we don't care, because if it turns into a matter, you know you don't dare. The number 1 ace on the bass of the face, you tell the Jason is in the place, and when the Lason sign starts to set the pace, he'll rock your ass from head to shoe lace. Not a story, not a fable, but a legend like Clark Gable, speak around the cable, a 2-turntable. DJ is definitely able to cut any record, no matter what the label, he can cut up and keep it stable. Got the magic touch, seems to be so much, that Special K will come through in the front, and without Special K, I gotta start get outdone. Got the greatest, got the newest, got the latest, and the disco hits you can possibly getting even all the unknown pop shit. Any record you can make, any disco break, anybody you pick, we can take. So come on, everybody, get off the wall, because you know this crew, we got it all. And when you put it to the test, from the east to the west, then the rest make a fast that the west is the best. Not the ants off the chest, so shoot my man's best, who's the best shot? We'll take a guess, go DJ Lee. I can't shock you better than DJ Lee. Can't shock you better than the Treacherous-Three. I can't shock you better than. Can't shock you better than Special K. Can't shock you better than Late Sunshine. Can't shock you better than Kupo D. Can't shock you better than the rest. So ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the throwdown? Well, we can rock you fast, and we can rock you slow, and we can rock you high, and we can rock you low, and we can rock you good, just to let you know that we're ready for the throwdown. Do it! Rock that high! Beat up, rock it, well, this is our shot, headed to the disco break, cause we're the MCs that got what it takes, cause we rhyme on time and never make mistakes, and we're ready for the throwdown. Rock to the rhythm, rock to the beat. Well, it's a rockin' beat, the non-stop and beat, the finger poppin' beat, the hip hop and beat. Now when you're rockin', finger poppin' and hip hoppin', then you hit it for the throwdown.
All right, now, so y'all got a taste of what it was really like back in the days. Hip hop was no joke, and we set it off the way it should have been set off. It was positive. It was peace. It was love. It was unity. And it was having fun. Nobody was shooting each other, acting up. The most a weapon a brother would have was a 007 knife. Or maybe carry some handcuffs just to front around like he took it from somebody or or something foolish like that. But we never did anything like that was super negative like we see what's going on today. In the beginning, back in the days, let me tell you, it was so real. We were respectful, we had a lot of love for our people, and we represented the hood. And we didn't go about hip hop like it wasn't transparent. Like, you couldn't come into the hood and get all the codes. You had to earn that. Today, all the codes is on the internet. Well, I guess it has something to do with the scripture that says all the truths will be known, that nothing can hide. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about the last days, and he made it plain. He said that the last days, you could tell you were in it because it would bring out of you what was in you. And we made it clear that through the teachings and representation that this was the actual fact, that it was going down, it was happening. We opened up the eyes by telling you what was in Message to the Black Man, telling you what rappers like Melle-Mell was talking about, back in the days. It was real important that you understood what was happening. But let's go way back. Let's go to the beginning, to the first rap song. Yeah, it was by a group called Fatback, the Fatback Band. And it was a King Tim 3 personality job. It was in 1979 that this album was released. It was on the B side of another track before, and then it was on Candy Sweet, and then after that it actually came out on its own. I got it, and I want y'all to hear this. This is the first ever rap record.
All right, y'all. Here we go. Just clap your hands and you stomp your feet, cause you're listening to the sound of the show shot beat. I'm the K-I-N-G, the G-I-M, King Tim the Third, and I am him, just me, Fatback, and the crew. We're doing it all just for you. We're strong as an ox and tall as a tree. We can rock it so viciously. We throw the highs in your eyes, the bass in your face. We're the funk machines that rock the human race. Skate, down, boogie, shot. Come on, girl, let's do the rock. Slam, dunk, do the jerk. Let me see your body work. To the beat, everybody. To the beat, everybody. 2, 4, 6, 8. Fatback, don't you hesitate.
All right, brothers and sisters, that was Fatback, real King T. That was one of the first ever hip-hop records. In fact, that was the first ever on wax. And we say on wax because it was on vinyl, and that's where you got that term from. When it was on wax, that means you cut a record. Now, for those who just tuned in, next week we're going to have the most powerful show, and that show is going to be called The Death of Police Brutality 2012. Featuring my guest, Forrest Muhammad, and Miss Queen of Organized Music. That's Tuesday, June 19th at 8 p.m. We want you to call in and make sure that you bring your stories and testify if you have been a victim of police brutality. We want to end police brutality. It's a breathing cyst in our community, and we need to cut it out for real. And how we're going to do that is through unity, and we're going to start, as many of us are starting, through collective efforts, through informing each other. And this is what we're going to be doing on that show. So tune in with us next week, Tuesday on the 19th. Now, of course, we're going to get into this battle that happened between Cannabis and the newcomer on the block known as Disaster. Now, King of the Dot is a Canadian battle format online. And on June 9th, Cannabis, the legendary rapper who battled LL Cool J and lost, stood up to battle a new school rapper named Disaster. Now, Disaster, I got to talk to you for a minute. but I'm going to talk to everybody, but I got a message for you, you know what I mean? So if you're listening, clear out your ears and open up your eyes because this is real. No surprises, just real talk. In the battle, Brother Cannabis pulled out a notepad after conceding to the victory of the new school rapper. So basically, he said he lost Cannabis and asked the crowd to allow him to rhyme from his rhyme book. He said he wanted to please the crowd who paid their hard money, and he was, was having a hard time about it because people were kind of shocked to see the legend pull out a rhyme book. It was different, unlikely that somebody of his caliber, and his persona would do that. But you had to understand what he was doing. What he was trying to do was he was trying to end the battle and then come out with this rhyme book. But instead of rhyming about things that he should have rhymed about, he started rhyming from the book of the battle rhymes, which were pointed against Disaster, whom he said just beat him. So when he did that, it was a contradiction to the end of the battle. So technically, since he kept rhyming about Disaster with a notepad in his hand, it was an appropriate move for Disaster to finish him off, So now had Cannabis pulled out some rhymes and dropped jewels about other topics, going in another direction, not directing anything to this rapper that he just said beat him, things might have turned in another direction. But then again, that's a gamble, But in the future, all you MCs learn something. If you lose, take the L and step off. If you gamble, you never know which way it's going to turn. Either way, you're taking a chance. Who am I to speak? I'm one of the founders of the Human Beatbox from Harlem. That's who am I. I'm not going to get too much into what I've done, but I had to let you know that I'm not speaking from the hip. I'm one of the first beatboxers to ever do it from Harlem, all right? So I have a right to voice my opinion, and I've done a whole lot more for hip-hop, but that's one of the reasons why I'm saying what I'm saying. But this isn't about me. I know about battling and how the rules should go. The problem with the youth today is that they're with their energy going so hard without experience, and it's messing up what we perfected originally, and it's an embarrassment. It's because the youth have been cut off from the elderly. You're not seeking information from the old school artists, from the founders. You're just going out there doing what you want to do. They done with it. It's our time now. That's the wrong mentality. You have to know what we did in order so you can properly represent what hip-hop is. Number one, let me tell you some rules here. No old school rapper should get in a ring with a new school rapper. But instead, if a new school rapper wants to bring it, that old school rapper should pick a new school rapper to represent in the battle. Why? Because that's how you lift the youth up. And that's how you properly pass the torch. Just one method. Just picture that. Picture something like that happening to any other rapper of Cannabis caliber or better. Why should he destroy his own reputation, take a chance like that? It doesn't make any sense. It's more than him. It's bigger than Cannabis. We're talking hip-hop. We're talking about the history of hip-hop and our foundation. During the battle, Disaster mentioned that Cannabis should pass the torch to the youth and not come out here trying to hold it down and ruin his reputation, and I agree. I agree with that, but how this was done, I do not. In fact, the torch that Cannabis gave to you should be snatched right back. 2, I'm going to get into why. 2, no new school rapper has the right to disrespect any old school rapper like Disaster did by calling LL Cool J a faggot. At the end of his verses, he was supposed to be talking about Cannabis. How did LL get in it? You should have. First, you bigged up LL for spanking Cannabis, and then you smacked that LL. I say smack that because it doesn't mean you hit him. Because what you said about LL was just, it don't phase LL. LL is like the mic master. You can't even go there with L. Anyway, LL is a pillar in hip-hop. So basically, on his behalf, I have to say, how dare you bring it to the heart of LL Cool J like that? You know, I mean, that's just disrespect, Money. You just don't do that in hip-hop unless you have an ulterior motive. Now, for that alone, you voided any passing of the torch, in my view, of this battle. No torch should be given to an opportunist who doesn't have respect for the founders of hip-hop. That goes to another rule. You know what I'm saying? Today's battles have no rules. And where there are no rules, there's no future. I've never seen, matter of fact, I've seen people actually fight over battles, literally deck each other, because they were not studying the history, how to come at it, how to, first of all, where's your sportsmanship? There's none. You know, it's just like, hey, come to the battle all high with your crew. You know, if somebody get too close, you might get decked, so you deck them first. I mean, that's not a battle. That's insanity. And if I was LL Cool J, I would send a hot new rapper who is under my wing to snatch the torch that Disaster think he has. It just needs to get it snatched back. But as far as I'm concerned, Disaster, you forfeited your win in that historic battle when you called LL Cool J a faggot. That was dead wrong. Needless to say that the battle surely put both of these rappers back on the spotlight, and that's a good thing. Even Cannabis can return to drop a single. It'll be difficult for him, but he could do it. You know, he could do it because, you know, he should get that respect, that even if he makes a mistake, that he still should be able to come out and get the love, because it takes a whole lot of heart to come out there and battle within an arena like that. You know, first of all, I think Cannabis, you should, and any rapper, you really should set your own tone, you know what I mean? Like, invite them to come to you, you know. But we can't do it over. You know, that's just a little advice I have. You know, and remember that he's still a very skillful MC. We got a lot of love for you, Cannabis. So keep your spirit up. You know what I'm saying? And nobody can take that from him but himself. Now, Disaster mentioned in his rhyme about Cannabis being subhuman as he was battling him. Couldn't this be considered a racist? But, you know, he said it wasn't racist, you know, to say subhuman and whatnot. But in reality, it was, because the way he was coming. You know, even if Cannabis displayed poorly, you can't justify your words which ill affect an entire people by the actions of one man. You drew from the theory of evolution that puts black people at the bottom and white people at the top. And from the makeup of your fans who were present, it's safe to say that you were appeasing the crowd. You admitted to being a disbeliever in God in your rhymes, but, you know, you kept it real. You know, we give you that respect. But let me tell you something. Of the most racist teachings in the history is the theory of evolution, which says that the world is approximately 6,000 years old, and that man began it as apes. And in the drawings that the apes turned into black man, and then they had a limp, and then eventually into upright white men with long beards, hairy, and with a club that goes upside his woman's head before they go to bed. So this evolution theory is not only racist, but it also puts men on top of the woman in a negative way, and it's anti-female. So all the ladies that's listening who are laughing, they really shouldn't be laughing, because this evolution theory gave way to cartoons that showed men bopping women in the head and just dragging them by their hair. You know, I guess this is what was going down in Europe back in the days. But, you know, I don't think you should support that theory because of, you know, the undertones. And it's just plain not true. No ape ever turned into a man. And if this theory was actually actual, then apes would be going extinct. In fact, we probably wouldn't have any apes right now, or monkeys. But, you know, they're not even on the verge of extinction because of any other threat opposed to maybe a habitat threat, you know, like man's machines coming, you know, to build buildings and things like that, you know. And if I were if you were going to call cannabis some kind of subhuman using the theory of evolution, then you're admitting to yourself and to all your fans that you are an ape. But let me tell you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. God told him face to face of the history of the Caucasian race. And he did not only tell us, he gave us actual facts through Scripture. He said that you are a race because you have a beginning and an end, unlike the original man who has neither a beginning or an end. We are the father of creation. So he also went on to say this of the history of the Caucasian. They made trouble for 6 months right in heaven, deceiving the ancient original people who were holy. But when they learned just who was causing the trouble, they, as you have learned, cast the troublemakers out, they being the original man, cast the troublemakers out into the worst and poorest part of the planet Earth, which is now known as Europe. That it means the rope to bind him, and here we go as he went on to say that they were punished by being deprived of divine guidance and for 2,000 years, which brought them almost into the family of wild beasts, going upon all fours, eating raw and unseasoned, uncooked food, living in caves and treetops, climbing and jumping from one tree to the other. Even today, they like climbing and jumping. The monkeys are from them, said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Before their time, there were no such things as monkeys, apes, and swine. The Holy Quran mentioned them as being turned into apes and swine as a divine curse because of their disbelief in Moses. And you can find references to this in Surah 18, verse 18, and 18, verse 22, or ayat 22, or chapter 18, okay? And also in the food, that's Surah 5, at the 60th verse, and also in the cow, that's chapter 2, at the 65th verse. Now, disaster, if you want to know the truth of it, apes were not the beginning of man, but apes, again, came out of man and are the relative and of the rebellious cave dwellers of Europe. And for those of you who feel that you are going to take over hip-hop and drive it into a bloodthirsty anti-legend theocracy, I have to let you know that what you have in hip-hop today is like a matrix. So if that's what you want, you can have it. But that's because that's not hip-hop. As you grab it, it will implode upon you because it is in a self-destructive mode of operation. So just like the Matrix, it wasn't real. So you can grab it all day. And for all of you people who are following the way hip-hop is right now, you can grab it all day too. Don't you see that it's all in Allah's plan to gather you up if that's what you want to be? Huh? Think about it. You have to step out of this sheep mentality, and you have to start to think like human beings of intelligence. That's why hip-hop, in my definition, is highly intelligent people with hidden original powers. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad went on to speak about the promise of God in the a promise of God in the book of Message called Message to the Black Man, and he said the black man must be awakened to the knowledge of self, and that he is not what the white race has taught him to be. But he didn't say but hold on. He said he must come out of his hopeless state. He thinks he is worthless. He should be brought into a state of worthness and worthiness and the knowledge and reality of his great place into which is Allah, in the person of Master Muhammad, will put him in. He is to place him on top and not the bottom, because the bottom is where he is today, and make him no more the tail but the head. He is to become the head of civilization of the new world for a new heaven on earth. He is not to rule over this people, but he is to be the ruler of self after the rule of the Caucasian world. So listen to what he's saying. He's not telling us to rule over other people. That's Allah's thing to do. Allah is the God. He's telling us to rule over self. So when people are afraid to see black people come up. You're incorrect because you're not in tune with the universe and you don't know our nature. It is not our nature to do harm to you. It is our nature to do righteousness. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, taught the Honorable Minister Farrakhan saying that our people can remember when we do something bad so well, but we cannot remember when we do something good because it's in our nature. I wonder if it's the opposite with others, particularly the children of the oppressor who maintain the oppressor's state of mind. Let me tell you about the future of hip-hop as I see it. The future of hip-hop, the parties will no longer be at night where the sins run deep, where you can get away with murder. It will be in the daytime. And the N-words, rule number 2, the N-words, the B-words, and the blatant disrespect of human beings will never be heard ever again. And number 3, there will never be such talk of the use of drugs or any intoxicants which will remove man from the civilized state of being. And number 4, hip-hop will be a positively influential and in all of its forms. And it will be family-friendly. And the pioneers will remain as the respected kings and queens of hip-hop culture. No longer will the talented within hip-hop consider others in the game to be limited just because they want to sing or do something different along the way. And brothers and sisters, if you want to call in and make a statement, that's fine. We could take in some calls right about now. But also, I want to say that in the future of hip-hop, battles will be based upon the skills of compositions which relate to problem solving and no longer based upon how you can kill the spirit of the next rapper. Just imagine a battle between 2 MCs who rapped about improving the condition of the planet or to inspire the youth to succeed in life. And we judge them on technique. The results would be phenomenal, but the energy of the human being would not be put to good use unless we did something like that. So we need to put the energy of human beings in good use. It's not to say that when you're in a battle today, in today's world, it is meant to bring down a brother. That's not what I'm saying. As men, we should be men, and as warriors, we will be warriors. We know the game, but if hip-hop is going to stay, it's got to be in step and obey the laws of the universe. And according to the present climate and downfall of the world of Satan, which mirrors the promise of the Lord of the worlds, we should be wise and set our minds to reflect the current universal change. Switching gears in hip-hop, let's talk about that for a minute, because that's important. Of the boldest and most powerful men on earth that, gives all the praise to the God is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he called a Million-Man March and turned around the next day and even before then and played the violin. So why can't a hardcore rapper drop a lyrical bombshell and turn around and sing a love song the next day? Had Michael Jackson chose to rock as a rapper and do an album of 24 rhyme songs, which turned out to be a platinum-selling hit, would you be able to say that he wasn't a real rapper? Do you even know the difference between a rapper and an MC? It was Michael Jackson who brought the electric boogie to the world when he moonwalked during his performance of Billie Jean at the Motown 25, Yesterday and Forever, on March 25th, 1983. He was known as the King of Pop, and he's still a king, really, you know what I'm saying? Or, you ain't going to be able to top Michael in another 20 years, But you couldn't tell me that he wasn't real hip-hop. He couldn't even, in fact, you couldn't even do that because he could do the beatbox too, and he could rap. And he did that, So hip-hop was in him. He was a child of hip-hop, It's a known fact that some of the greatest warriors and leaders of history had talents that were vastly in contrast to their warrior spirit, and that gave them the balance that they needed to defeat their enemies. Look at the history and present marching bands of the militaries of the world. Can't you see the benefit of having a diverse talent? And it's kind of crab-like to say that another MC that to say to another MC that you're not being true to the game if you sing or do a pop record when you're an MC. You know, I understand that it's different and that when you have your focus on someone like a particular pattern of their walk, and then they change up and you feel that they deviated. But who are you to judge what Allah created? I mean, you can't determine the direction of an MC. You know, that's not hip-hop. Hip-hop is repping where you from. And if he's from the God, then in the God is his purpose and also the how he's going to fulfill his purpose. You have nothing to do with that. So we have to start rethinking how hip-hop should be molded for the future. My advice to those of you who feel that an MC shouldn't sing or dance or do anything other than battle rap or rock rhymes is the next time you see an MC like that, just change the channel. You know what I'm saying? You see your rapper switch up, you ain't got to look at him. You know what I'm saying? You know, get on another frequency, you know, and if you're not comfortable with that, just get on another frequency for a minute, you know, but let him do himself and let's stop hating on each other, you know, and, you know, let's allow that rapper to do his thing that's going to balance him into the person that he's going to be in the future, you know. And I use the word crab-like to reflect what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said about his people who are in the lack of knowledge itself. And this can also be applied to many other people. He said that people are like crabs in a barrel, and that when one crab gets to the top, the other crabs will grab that crab down. So if you have multiple talents, show forth your power and get your swag on. Hip-hop is highly intelligent people with hidden original powers today, but tomorrow we will not hide our power. And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said for all of his followers, that the hereafter is now. You are about to see a new world of hip-hop. And if you want to be a part of it, once again, you have to be in a new spirit. And that is just right for an all-new time. In Revelations 21:5, it is God who said, he who is seated on the throne said, this was written in the Bible. It says that God said, I'm making everything new. And he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. Now, we're going to talk about one of the legends in hip-hop. And I definitely want to know if anybody has any comments with regards to that battle that took place with the cannabis and the disaster, you know, because, you know, I know y'all got something to say about that, you know, so y'all can call in, you know, and if you don't know anything about it, go to YouTube and just keyword battle between cannabis and disaster, you know, and put the word notepad in there, and you're going to see it pop up. The battle was incredible. You know, it was truly a moment in the history of hip-hop. You know, now let's get into this here brother I got to talk about right here. This is my brother Big-Daddy-Kane. First of all, if you listen, assalamu alaikum to you, brother. And thanks for looking out and performing at the Family Day several years back. That was tight. You know, anyway, let's go back to the 80s and speak on one of the best ever MCs, or rather lyricists, which is an MC, you know, a trait of an MC's lyricism, you know, in the history of hip-hop, and that's the legendary, again, Big-Daddy-Kane. Now, Kane started off behind the scenes, and he was writing for Biz Markie. You know, he was co-writing for him, you know, and Biz Markie was known as hip-hop's clown back in the days. He was like the first Flavor Flav. You know, I think everybody would agree with that. And when he came out with songs like Nobody Beats the Biz, we were amazed because he was the first rapper to get a lawsuit with a electronics company over the copyright. Yeah, it was wild, you know, because they had a jingle called Nobody Beats the Wiz, and then Biz comes out with Nobody Beats the Biz, Nobody Beats the Biz, and they got kind of aggy about that. They got upset, you know. And ironically, I met one of Big-Daddy-Kane's dancers there. You know, we both worked there as employees at the Wiz, Scoop level, you know, and we were working there. It was real funny, you know, to see him there. I was really happy to have met him there. He was a very nice gentleman, good brother, you know. And, Now that company, what's funny about it is that the company that went after Biz Markie is no longer in effect. They've been shut down. And it probably has something to do with the fact that I put out a fire in one of their major stores and they didn't even thank me. Or was it their practices of selling used electronics for the price of new ones without telling the customer? What goes around comes around. Well, getting back to Big-Daddy-Kane, who you can still find rocking the house back in the days, even nowadays, and he still got it, so if you see him performing, please go out there and check him out. In fact, Big-Daddy-Kane is rocking in a salute to hip-hop featuring Big-Daddy-Kane, EPMD, and Chuck Rock at BB King Blues Club and Grill in New York. That's on the September 18th of this year. So go to Ticketmaster.com to get the actual facts on that. In fact, he got a few shows lined up, and if you ever want to see the old school rock, go to Ticketmaster.com. Go to that website and just keywords your old school rapper, and you're going to see. You can see a lot of pictures of Rakim, Kane, and all the rappers, on Facebook. They're floating around. They're still doing their thing. Kane stood for King Asiatic, nobody's equal. He was known for his high-powered battle rhymes, and he stood above the crowd of rappers to a great degree. And most people back when Kane was heavy, and I mean heavy meaning lyrically, he was always fit. We would debate on whether or not he could stand in the ring with Rakim. But the problem with that was Rakim was so classic, and Kane was so classic that it was so hard to truly say who would actually win in a battle between Kane and Rakim. But trust me, they was at the apex. It was like if anybody was battling, it was Kane and Rakim, but I don't think they ever went at it, And it's like I said, they was just too classic. It was like Kool G Rap. Kool G Rap back in the days was too classic, man. He was the first gangster rapper, like he was the illest. And it's like we wouldn't even want to see him battle Kane or Rakim. It was like, let hip-hop grow. We were building something here, and it wasn't really about seeing them battle, but that would have been something else to see something like that, And anyway, I bet that had everything that I bet that the reason why they all sound the same or were similar is because they were drawn from the same source. Rakim and Kane. They were both adamant readers of the Holy Quran, supreme wisdom lessons, and the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that gave them a certain finesse. It was amazing because they were drawn from scripture, and it was molding them into the gods that they were born to be. So this is how to maintain. Get back to that scripture, get back to them lessons. Get back to the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, brothers, and I guarantee you success. And it's like case in point. Look at Holy Are You by Rakim. That was off the chain. He brought it back to the God. And that was real. And all rappers who do that, you will see that they have longevity. Look at Nas. He mentioned Ether. The Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, longevity. When people thought Nas was about to drop off, look what happened to him. He just took the odds and shut it down. Nas is Nas. He will always be Nas. Kane is Kane. He will always be Kane. Rakim is Rakim and always will be Rakim. Now, getting back to Kane, in 1987, Kane was known for being one of the cornerstones of the Juice Crew. That was led by Melle-Mell. And Kane signed to Cold Chillin' Records, and from that point on, it was smooth sailing when he dropped Raw. And he let the world of hip-hop know that battle rhyming was the future. It was real. You should have seen how many people started battle rhyming after Raw came out. It was just real. And then he was from Queens, and Queens had it going on. They had LL, they had Run DMC. It was crazy. Queens had it going on for a minute. The album Long Live the Kane, that was no joke. That was real. He came out with Smooth Operator, and that really made everybody feel real good to hear that record. It's not that many people that can actually rhyme and do it like that today, talking about women and just have them finessed like that, and that was one thing that Kane mastered, You know, his career took a dive though when he went on. You know, it went on the sidelines when he released, you know, that other album. His last album, I think it was Prince of Darkness, and it was just too R&B, and people wasn't ready for that. You know, he did some acting, you know, with Mary Van Peebles, you know, and in the movie Posse he did, you know, in 93, and that was tight. That was all right. You know, he did pretty good as an actor. He wasn't that bad, you know, but we can never take anything from Kane. You know, long live the Kane. You know, all praise due to Allah for the Kane. You know, Big-Daddy-Kane, you're one of the best in the books, you know, and with that said, you know, I want to say that we can always thank Allah for the Big-Daddy-Kane for bringing the high-powered lyrics, the techniques, you know, and for informing the world of the power of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings. You know, he definitely went in. Now, let's get familiar with Kane for a minute, because it's important that, you know, when I talk about a rapper, that I let you know that I know what records he did, and you need to know, too. Here's Smooth Operator by Big-Daddy-Kane.
Well, excuse me, take a few minutes to mellow out. Big-Daddy-Kane is on the mic, and I'ma tell about a minimum length of rhymes with strength and power. So listen to the man of the hour. Flow and go to a slow tempo, and you know, sing ho, swing low, then yo, the show will go on. As I perform, transforming on stage like a Decepticon. But I'm not animated like a cartoon, I'm for real, shooting lyrics like a harpoon. Across the crowd, the listeners and spectators, so let's groove with the Smooth Operator. It sounds so smooth. It sounds so smooth. The B-I-G-D-A-D-D-Y-K-A-N-E, I'm good plenty, serving many and any competition, wishing for an expedition. I'm straight up dissing and dismissing. Listen, rappers act so wild, I love the profile, frontin' hard but ain't got no style. I give nightmares to those who compete. Freddy Krueger walking on King Street, confuse and lose. Let it roll, get bold. I just can't hold back or fold, cause I'm a man with soul, in control and effects. So what the heck? Rock the discotheques, and this groove is what's next. Attack, react, exact, or max, I move you with a strong song as long as you groove to this. I keep the crowd loud when you hype. Do damage on stage and injure the mic. As I shoot the gift and see and sip, while my rhyme stick to you like Skippy and Chip. Feel my blood fist on my death kiss. The rap solo with, you don't want none of this. Supreme in this era, I reign with terror. When I grab the mic, believe you're gonna hear her. Fascinating rhyme as I enchant them. So let's all sing the Big Daddy anthem. Go with the flow, my rhymes grow like an afro. I entertain again and Kane, I never have no problem. I can sneeze, sniffle, and cough. Even if I stutter, I will still come off. Cause rappers can't understand the mics I rip. They sure enough ain't equipped, that's why they got flipped. But my apparatus is up to status. Don't ask who's the baddest. I'm going baddest, a make or break, I take her. My rhyme takes the head, put it to bed. So watch what's said. Play the bass for the pipe and rearrange the tone. I take a loss and be forced in the danger zone. Cause I can kill and kill at will. Teaching a skill that's real, you know frill. So just stand still and chill as I feel. Science I drill until my rhyme fill. Your head up. Don't even get up. The teacher is teaching, so just shut up.
I can't go to back.
Set it off.
I can't go to back.
Set it off.
I can't go to back.
Set it off.
I can't go to back.
Now break it loose. Rappers take a step back, or you will soon regret that. You ever had to confront me and you can bet that I come correct, perfect, and full effect. Disconnect, dissect, eject, and direct shop. Stand in command with the clan, caravan or band. We go man for man, and without further ado or any delay, Mr. C as we say, call him the DJ. Mad Money Murph with the triple M. Smoother barber, keep on my flat top trim. Scoop lover, my brother, strap lover, the other. Dancers of the crew so loud, the boys just bubble the floor and endure just for your pleasure. As the microphone, Lord proceed to get more. Acrobatic, Asiatic, rap fanatic. I get dramatic and rhymes start flowing automatically for me. So don't play me, obey me. When asked who's the best, you better say me. I'm sending sucker MCs heading off, and if you still want some, set it off. For you to cope, it's just a wish and a hope. And if you are what you eat, then feed me dope. Cause I'm just about as dope as dope can get. Ultimate, legit, Kane is a perfect fit. The king of my kingdom, completing a cycle. maestro. Yo, hit it. Big-Daddy-Kane's about to come with it, cause set it off.
All right. Now, y'all just heard a little taste of Big-Daddy-Kane. Now, I have to say that I almost felt like dancing when I heard that pump right there. You know, that was pumping, you know, and that was one pump that got me up right now. You know, I'm amped, you know, and again, this is a hip-hop show, so when you hear me use terms like, you know, that are street terms, understand that, you know, I'm speaking the language of the people, so don't get it twisted. All right, now we're going to get into another legend, but we're going to go back a little bit. You know, and it's important that you, the new generation, understand the history and know who set it off, man. How did hip-hop become hip-hop? You know, I mean, did you know that the name hip-hop came directly out of the talent? Like, it was like rappers got on the mic and just started saying, hip-hop, you don't stop, rock it to the bang-bang boogie. And before you know it, people just started saying, yo, that's it, hip-hop. You know, when we heard records like Rapper's Delight and things like that, you know, that's what gave us the definition. You know, I said a hip-hop, the hip-hop, you don't stop, rock it to the bang-bang boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now, that right there and that whole rhyme, I know everybody thought I was going to go at it, you know, but that rhyme right there, I think that's where we all found that was definitely the best name for it. You know, anyway, hip-hop groups like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, who we talked about before, I just want to go back into it a little bit more because they deserve a little bit more. You know, they worked hard. You know, they helped found this. You know, and I just want to talk a little bit more about Grandmaster Flash, you know, and the Furious Five. They were honored at the Rock and Roll as Rock and Roll Hall of Famers back in 2007, and we know we can credit Run DMC for helping to make that happen because they did that record with Aerosmith. They did, you know, they fused rock and hip hop together perfectly, you know, and it was like we thought something like that would never happen. Like, how could rock and rap merge? And it did. And through the works of Run DMC, our legends, Grandmaster Flash, you know, who came before Run DMC, they were honored, you know, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was kind of strange because, like, shouldn't we have a hip-hop Hall of Fame? Well, we do now, you know. But that's how it went down before, you know. But after that, the founder of Cool Herc and Africa Bambaataa, after them came Grandmaster Flash, by the way. And for those who invited, you know, who were invited to see them, it was like, whoa, like, are you serious? You know, like, for real, like, you invited me to go party with you and see Grandmaster Flash? Like, that was like going to see a prophet back in the days. That's how people felt. And me being a little one, man, if somebody had came up to me and said, yo, I got comps to the Roxy to go see Bambaataa, I would have been like, are you serious? Like that would have been a response. You know, that response shouldn't have changed. You know, today we should even be more like, are you serious? I mean, not just me who know of the spirit back then, but the youth. They should have that same spirit, like, wow, they want to connect with that because those are the fathers of hip-hop, you know. Now, Grandmaster Flash invented the crossfade. Now, in the beginning, it was an on and off switch. It wasn't like it is now, you know, how you got the fader. You know, back in the days, he was switching from record to record, and he was doing it probably because there was probably a flaw in the switch that allowed you to hear the other record a little bit before it switched over. So he was just mastering that, and he was doing his thing. He was toggling between the records and getting it on. You know, he invented this backspin technique, you know, and he also used to do the thing where he used to turn around and do it and cut and scratch, you know, from behind his back. Flash was absolutely amazing. You know, Who could forget watching him spin in Wild Style while Fab Freddy was sitting there watching? You know, Fab Five Freddy, you know, it was like when you were sitting there watching him, everybody who was watching was wishing they was you or feeling like, man, if that was me sitting there, I'll be looking just like that. I would have been looking at that Grandmaster Flash like, whoa, that's amazing. You know, and that's how we were looking. You know, it was amazing, you know, to see Flash do his thing in Wild Style back in the days. And Fab Five Freddy represented all of us in that room. You know, anyway, Fab Five was the host of the first all-rap video show that was in 1988, and that was called the Yo MTV Rap Show. You know, that was MTV's first crack at rap, you know, and it rocked for a minute. It was really well put together, and Fab Five Freddy, he represented well on that. You know, you put a lot of people on, you know, a lot of dancers, a lot of rappers, a lot of singers. They owe a lot to you and MTV for doing what you did. Prior to that was this video show called New York Hot Tracks. And New York Hot Tracks was hot, you know, but it was a variety show, you know, but they did break in Run DMC and a lot of rap acts, you know, in that show. You know, Malcolm McLaren, people like that, you know, Supreme Team Show, all of that was, you know, I think broke in by Hot Tracks back in the days. You know, and then who could forget the Vid Kid and Ralph McDaniels? Come on now, Video Music Blocks. That was the bomb. Who can forget them? You know, for real, we need to put them up there, you know, and, you know, do something special for them one day, you know, just for them, you know. But anyway, it was in 1983 that Hot Tracks was rocking, and it was on for a few years, you know. It went on until about 1989. Now, Joseph Sadler, that's Grandmaster Flash's real, his born name, he was a young man from Barbados. He grew up in the Bronx, and he became a powerful force in hip hop. And in our last show, we talked about his group, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, you know. And I want you to get into the reality of the Furious Five for a moment. You know, we're gonna play a little something from them, you know, and I just want you to hear this. You know, this is hot. This is called New York.
New York, big city of dreams, and everything in New York ain't always what it seems. You might get fooled if you come from out of town, but I'm down by law and I know my way around. Too much, too many people, too much, too much, too many people, too much. A castle in the sky, 1 mile high, built to shelter the rich and greedy. Rows of eyes, disguised as windows, looking down on the poor and the needy. Miles of people marching up the avenue, doing what they gotta do just to get by. I'm living in a land of plenty and many, but I'm damn sure poor, and I don't know why. Too much, too many people, too much.
A man's on a ledge, says he's gonna jump. People gather around, said he won't, he's just a chump, cause he lost his job, then he got robbed, his mortgage is due, and his marriage is through. He says he ain't gonna pay no child support, because the left him without a second thought. His wife took the kids, the car, and the crib. In this man's world, so much for women's live. New York, big city of dreams, but everything in New York ain't always what it seems. You might get fooled if you come from out of town, but I'm down by law, and I know my way around. Down in the village, you might think I'm silly, but you can't tell the women from the men sometimes. They're sugar and spice and everything nice, but when you get them home, ain't no telling what you find. Right next door is a little old man. I seen him eating dog food out of a can. He says, I got to eat when I can't afford meat. I barely can stand on my own 2 feet. I need some time and I want some space. I gotta get away from the human race.
Too much, too many people, too much. Too much, too many people, too much. Staring at a skyscraper, reaching into heaven, when over in the ghetto I'm living in hell. Just play ball or be an entertainer, cause like me can't read too well. Nobody loves me, nobody cares. I dream about a life, but I'm living in a nightmare. Paranoid, schizo, setbacks, snowbound, bad news cycle, heart attack, breakdown.
This right here was from Beat Street. Right, this is Grandmaster Flash and Beat Street right here. All right, brothers and sisters, I have some great news. I have a caller on the line, Frank Tar, brother from Africa. We're going to get into it with him. You know, we played his record in the beginning, but we had some technical difficulties, you know, and it seems like Blog Talk, you know, y'all having a little problems here and there. But the way I see it, it's a hip-hop show, you know, and, you know, it's like when we were out in the streets back in the days doing the jams and we used to tap into the lamppost. Every now and then there was a technical difficulty. Somebody bumped into the speakers, somebody bumped into the needle, you know, or something happened. Something always happened. If it wasn't a fight or some kind of disruption where the police came and said, look, y'all got to turn it down, or y'all got to leave, people were complaining, and people would turn it down, and the cops would go away, and then they'll turn it back on again. But the reason why I'm bringing all of that up is to say this. When a brother has technical difficulties dealing with this internet and all of these things, don't break out and feel sore about it because, you know, we got to look at it in a positive light. You know, we got to think positive and encourage each other and keep it moving, you know, and support the brother. And here we go with the opportunity for you to show your support. Again, please make a donation at wepay.com/godswater, the number 1. Again, that's www.wepay.com/godswater, the number 1. Or you can make a donation at godswater7.com. Now, earlier, we played a record from Frank Tar, and his group, Face to Face, has a record called Hip Hop Generation, which we played for you. And many of you who heard it, you know, was like, what is that? You know, and that was basically a powerful song from a brother and his group from Africa. Now, he's on the line right now, and I'm going to pull him in so you can meet him. And he's going to tell you what hip-hop means to him and a little bit about hip-hop history in Africa. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Frank.
Yes, walaikum salam.
All right, welcome to the Sword of Resurrection show, and thanks for keeping your word bond and calling in. You know, how are you today?
Yes, sir. I'm fine, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. And, you know, you got a hip-hop audience out there, and they're eager to know, you know, who you are, a little bit about yourself, you know, what does hip-hop mean to you, and a little bit about the history of hip-hop there where you're from.
Okay. First, I want to add one thing. I am Face to Face. That's my artist name. And because earlier you said there was a group. I am Face to Face, and I'm the head of a non-governmental organization called Côte d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative. And basically, hip hop to me it's just I can define hip hop. Can say be yourself. That's what hip hop equals to.
Wait, could you say that again? Because you broke up.
Hip hop to me, I can say it equals to being yourself. Hip hop is being yourself and expressing yourself the best way you can and keeping it real at the same time. So whether it's beatboxing, MCing, or breakdancing, graffiti, you are being yourself. You're expressing your inner self, your true self through hip hop. So that's my understanding of hip hop. And hip hop is I can say it can also be used as a weapon to teach the people, to bring people together. And so we here in Côte d'Ivoire, we've been following hip hop since the 1980s with rappers like MC Claver, which was a rapper and also a rap TV host, MC Claver and Scorpion, and today we also have rappers like Nash, which is a sister named Nash. She uses ghetto terms, or we can say slang. We have a slang that we call Nushi. That's the name of this language. It's the language. You can say it's the language of the poor. It's the language of ghetto. It's only basically mostly young people understand this language. When white people come to Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, they try to learn about this language because it's a mix of French and other African dialects that forms this language called Nushi. So we have this sister named Nash who has her own style where she raps in Nushi 100%. She does not use any French terms. All her terms are Nushi terms. That's amazing. The name. That's Nash, his sister. She kind of reminds me of Queen Latifah in a way because she's a strong sister. And we also have a lot of artists. For example, Rajman, and a lot of artists uses this language to be able to talk to the people easy. So this is all I can say about hip hop here. Hip hop here. So I forgot to say one thing. We currently are in a struggle right now because hip hop has lost its power here. A new type of music took over. If you can let me explain real quick, this new type of music is called coupé décalé. This new type of music is called coupé décalé. One of the popular artists from this type of music is called DJ Arafat. And this music, if I can compare to American music, I can say this is what you call your commercial hip hop or your commercial rap, your music that doesn't have any sense. And this new music is, it's the same thing that goes on in the States, degrading sisters, about drinking and partying all night. This is what this music basically portrays. So we in the hip hop, with the youth, we have this struggle, this fight now where we trying to bring positivity, bring righteous hip hop, positive hip hop back on the scene. So basically our main adversary is that coupé décalé music, which is totally backed up by the government, all the higher authorities. They love this music because it keeps the people dumb. Mm-hmm. And hip hop is not what they really want to hear. So
this is important that you listen.
Yes,
excuse me, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to say that it's important that we give this brother our undivided attention. And because what I'm hearing is that you're going through the same thing that we went through when the record Headed for Self-Destruction came out, which was a compilation between rappers here in America, where, you had Public Enemy, you had Queen Latifah, who you mentioned, Moni Love, and a whole host of other rappers, KRS-One, and, they all came together. I think Chuck Rock was on there, and they came together to go against the negatives in hip-hop and say something about the violence that was occurring on the streets in the form of black-on-black crime. So what you're going through is similar to what we went through, and I'm hoping that you learn from what we suffered, because hip-hop died here in New York and throughout the States and came back as a zombie. It is not in the form that it was originated in. Originally, as we said before in the show, it was dedicated to repping where you was from, your hood.
Yes.
But today, everybody is trying to be other than themselves. It's because they have lost the knowledge of themselves and living a beast life, and now they are representing hip-hop as would a crowd of zombies in the middle of the night, just moving to the rhythm of the moon, you know, and they're being pulled by a force that they know not what. And in some cases, they know, and they really don't care. So what you're experiencing, I just want to say, it just touched so much in me, because I went to Africa. As I said earlier in the show, I'm not sure if did you get to hear any of the beginning of the show?
Yes, about the N-word, yes.
Right, and when I talked about Sister Zandy, who was murdered for speaking up at the Hotel Meridian and saying to the world that it was important that Africans represented Africa through hip-hop and African culture through hip-hop, and she paid with her life for saying that. Months after we left Africa, she was found hanging in her hotel room, according to authorities, who said it was a suicide, which I dispute thoroughly, and everybody who knows her disputes to the T that is not Zandy. She would never have done that. All evidence points to the fact that she said something that upset people, and she had a talent about her that was reminiscent of Mama Africa, and we are thankful for the new Mama Africa, Queen Mother Dolores Blakely, for orchestrating that trip, and I represented as an international spokesman for hip-hop from America in Africa, and that was a blessing at Fesmin in Senegal. Now, what's happening with you over there, you cannot let it happen to you as it happened to us. You have to go all out, brother, in the name of Allah, and fight that force that is trying to go against your people's future, because music can kill in the wrong hands. Now, you can go ahead and finish what you were saying, brother.
That's true, sir. That's very true. And so, with the help of some brothers and sisters from Chicago, named from the Chicago Hip Hop Initiative, we started this organization called Côte d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative. Those brothers and sisters are Cool Out Chris, Amina Hawkins, and Ange 13 from Chicago, all popular underground artists from, hip hop artists out of Chicago that helped us start this organization called Cote d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative, whose main goal is to promote positive hip hop and also use hip hop as a tool to help the youth get back into the reading books, because I strongly believe that hip-hop can have that influence on young people to make them interested in reading again, in searching for knowledge, searching for wisdom. I strongly believe that if we organize ourselves properly and use that artist influence on the young people out here and have, reading sessions and with young people out here, I'm very sure that a lot of young people will want to learn more about their own history, because I was an English teacher before I started this organization. And in my English classes, this is what I've done. When I came back to my country, I was having English classes with young students in English institutes and private universities. And I was telling them about the minister, telling them about, how he changed my life and how he can change their lives also. So we were using videos I used to download from YouTube and play it at the class, and they used to listen to it. They used to like the energy that the minister had. But
and we talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, yes sir. And the problem was this. It seems that they did not know anything about their own African history or African American history, great writers from Africa or from the United States, great black writers. They didn't know anything about these people, and this really hurted me. And I thought about it. I was telling them about, okay, you don't know Minister Farrakhan? Do you know Malcolm X? And they would say, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So I realized that there seems to be an ignorance in our schools here, and especially the education system. You have to understand one thing, is that the education system is a French educational system, which means that it is not 100% African or Ivorian educational system. It is a French influence education. Yes, so which means that a lot of our history has not been given in those schools, and they are not being taught proper things in those schools. That is why most of the students that get degrees out here wind up on the street, because I feel like it's the same reality as in the United States, but not at a higher degree as in the United States. We're still at the lower degree, but I feel that we may get there if we don't act properly.
What are you doing to? Let me just say, I'm sorry to cut you off, but with respect to time, I got to throw some questions in.
Okay.
What are you doing to inform the hip hop generation there in hip hop of the history of hip hop itself as it started out in the Bronx here in New York?
Okay. We negotiated with a radio station here for 1 hour and a half airtime, where our organization comes in and we talk about hip hop, for the all 1 hour and a half. We play songs. For example, in our radio shows, we have the introduction where we play old school songs and we tell them about this artist and that artist. For example, if we play Tupac song, we would tell them who he is and what he's done and what is he talking about. If we play a KRS One, then we would. This is how we slowly but surely teaching the youth, the ones that are listening to our shows, about what hip hop really is. And we also have a education session on that show where we address a specific subject. For example, last week we addressed envy. We addressed the danger of envy, the dangers of being an envious person, especially in hip hop, when you see your brother shine and you don't want to support him, or you don't want to help your brother who's doing something positive and things like that. So
right.
Every week we have a different session. For example, this week, this Saturday, we will talk about fatherhood, since it's going to be a Father's Day here. We're going to address the subject of being a responsible father. I try to follow the final call and try to find a way to explain the teachings of French in the baby language. You want to say.
Well, brother, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, Brother Frank. You know,
yes,
and we want to wish you and all the artists in Africa, the motherland, you know, all the love that we can ever wish you, and pray for your success. And we pray that you continue to communicate with us, and I want to stay in touch with you, and hopefully we could do a show pretty soon, you know, and or maybe even cut a record, you know.
Yes.
We got other callers that want to call in. In fact, somebody just called in and bounced out. But is there any last words that you'd like to say before we pull out? Because I want to get into another segment of the show. But if there's something really important on your mind, that caller just went off the line. So I'm going to give you that time, yield that time to you, because you got more time now. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I mean, you know, the organization is called Côte d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative. Right. You can look it up on Google, and you will see all our activities. I mean, we need help. That's all I can say. I mean, we can't do it by ourselves. I believe that if we all get together, all like minds get together, I'm sure we can do great things. So for all those that's listening out there, if y'all could help out, we would really appreciate it.
So what's your website?
The website, we are actually on the Chicago Hip Hop Initiative website. We have a page there with all our links. But the easier thing is just look up Côte d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative on Google. You will have the different links, for example, YouTube, etc.
How do you spell that? Because you broke up a little bit. I'm not sure if everybody got that.
Okay, just look up on Google. Just look up Côte d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative. Côte d'Ivoire Hip Hop Initiative. How do you spell it? C-O-T.
You know how to spell it in English? Wait, say it again because you're breaking up.
C-O-T-E-D-I-V-O-I-R-E. It just means Ivory Coast in French. In English, it's Ivory Coast, and in French, it's Côte d'Ivoire.
And that's face to face. Right, Hip Hop Initiative, the name of the group is Face, the artist.
The name of the artist, it's Face to Face with a number 2.
All right. Now, I want to thank you again, Frank, for tuning in and calling in. And again, we wish you the best, man. Allah bless you. And we'll have a part 3, which will announce the date and everything. Part 3 of Highly Intelligent People with Hidden Original Powers again. And we'll invite you back to talk some more. Maybe you could bring some of your other artists from Africa to share with us, because we want to make sure that we keep the communication lines on and keep that underground railroad in effect between here and your land, our land, the motherland, Africa. Thank you, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Wa alaikum salam.
Well, there you have it. That is an African rapper, and, you know, you could tell by his spirit that he is really serious about making a change and going against the powers that be. And I just want to play this one record to commemorate that conversation we just had and to keep this spirit flowing. Public Enemy, Fight the Power. And call in if you want to represent your hood and talk about how hip-hop has changed your life and what it means to you. Play back.
Your heart, cause I know you got a soul. Hey, listen if you're missing, y'all. Swinging while I'm singing. Hey, giving what you're getting. Knowing what I know in while As the rhythm's designed to bounce with half-exact rhymes, designed to fill your mind now that you realize the prize arrives. We got the pump to start to make it hot. From the heart, it's the start of work of art to revolutionize, make a change, something strange. We are the same, no, we're not the same, cause we don't know the game. What we need is awareness, we can't get careless. You say, what is this? I love it, let's get down to business, mental, self-defensive fitness. So let's get show. You got to start working now to make everybody see. In order to fight the power that be. Fight the power. 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 We got to fight the power that be.
I remember talking to you online, Lil Wayne. Told you you be the Jesus. You should flip it on a cane and YPD lock them up. Hope the